Beyond Film School. I'm Amber, and today in this video we are covering how clear communication is going to help you in your film career journey. Before we jump into the video about clear communication, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay up to date on all the videos I make on the film industry. And be sure to hit that PayPal link, help support Beyond Film School. That link will be below. And thank you to everyone that has contributed already. It really keeps me creating, it keeps me going. Thank you to all those who have donated. If you are just joining me, we are doing 10 days of tips. 10 days, 10 tips, 10 videos, all in a row for you. And we are on tip number 5. We are on tip number 5, which is communicating clearly. And if you missed 1 through 4, be sure to check out those videos. Now, all these tips are for everyone just starting out, just trying to start a film career. Maybe you're just trying to figure out how to become a set PA, how to become a better set PA, how to become a director or producer. But usually, being a set PA is the first step, and all of these tips are going to be useful to everybody just starting to embark on their film career. And if you're trying to work on a film set, if you're trying to work in film, you need to know how to communicate clearly. Communication can really make or break a day on set. And it can really make or break your career as well, how you're seen, and also if you're gonna get jobs or not. So let's start with communication on set. You need to be concise. You have to make sure you're talking at the right volume. You have to make sure there's no fluff in your message to make sure that no one can confuse what you're saying. So you need to make sure that the right information is coming across clearly. There should be no confusion on what needs to get done in what time frame and where, as far as the crew is concerned. So covering that first bit, let's talk about proper volume. Now, if you are just starting out as a PA on set, you're gonna be on a walkie and you're gonna have maybe a couple crew members around you in person, and you need to make sure that you are talking at a proper volume so people can hear you. Most of the time with people who are new PAs, they tend to be a little bit timid, they tend to be a little confused and hesitant, and they're afraid to kind of open their mouth. You need to make sure that you are loud enough that when they're rolling and when they cut, that the crew can actually hear what you're saying. Also, when it comes to the walkie, if you're too soft-spoken on the walkie, no one's going to be able to hear you there either. So volume is a really important key part that I have to make sure that you guys know, because a lot of the time they think that it's okay to just be this timid little mouse person, and it's not. You need to be a force on set. You have to be a force on set. So volume is super important. Now, the other side of that is obviously being too loud, and this also is a problem for a lot of PAs, strangely enough, because they don't know how to use a surveillance mic. And they have the surveillance mic too close to their mouth and they're screaming into it. Now, when you're screaming into a microphone for a walkie, it gets distorted. You can't really hear anything, and it's called eating your mic. If you are the person that is screaming into the walkie, know that no one's gonna be able to understand you. So yeah, you may have the volume, but if we can't hear the words that are coming out of your mouth, then you are useless. Also, if you're in a smaller room and you're calling rolls and cuts, there's no reason to scream to the rooftops if there's like a couple people in the room with you. Proper volume, I can't stress that enough. It's super important. So when it comes to volume, there's a balance there. So we gotta make sure that we don't get people who are the mumblers on set, and we have to make sure that we don't get the screamers on set. Now let's talk about being concise. Now, this is really for the talkers out there. You have to make sure that your info is short, sweet, and to the point. No one has time for your life story, the gossip of the day. You can save that for when there's downtime, and that's usually after you wrap. You really don't want any of the information to get mixed up in other bullshit of the day. You don't want that. You have to make sure you're not saying other things to just confuse the hell out of the crew members that just need the vital information. So you have to make sure you're short, sweet, and to the point when you're on set, and you're communicating clearly at a proper volume. Now, let's talk about communication outside of set when it comes to your film career. Now, let's talk about interviewing. You want to make sure that you're concise in your answers. You want to make sure that you simplify your answers. When you're talking in an interview, they don't like run-on stories, run-on sentences. Also, when it comes to interviewing, you want to make sure that you're not speaking too slow or speaking too fast, which I know I have a huge bad habit of this, even in my videos. People complain about me talking way too fast. But, you know, when you're interviewing, you have to make sure you're giving pause. You're thinking about what you're saying. Oh yeah, we gotta talk about it. We're talking about the resume now. We talked about interviews, now we're going to talk about the resume, because I have seen hundreds of film resumes throughout my career, and I help people, you know, revise their resumes, and I have seen so much bullshit, fluff, and just things that you just don't want to see on a resume, and it really wastes the person that's hiring you, it wastes their time. So even in your communication on your resume, you are communicating to that person that's hiring you the type of person you are, the type of worker you are, and the type of job you're looking for, and what you can bring to the table for that job. You have to cut out the fluff, you have to be concise, and give that person what they need to know about you. So we're getting really deep here because I'm talking about texts, emails, and phone calls. Even these, when people are texting you, hey, are you available tomorrow? Your answer should not be,
you know what, well, what time is the call time? If I get out of work at 6 a.m., will I be able to make a 7 a.m. call? Oh, I have to go to a doctor's appointment tomorrow.
Either you can or you can't. It's a yes or no answer. Can you not? Like, expect a full day when someone asks you, if you can work tomorrow. So keeping texts, phone calls, emails short and to the point is something I wish everyone knew, because people in the film world, or people in general, honestly, just don't have time for paragraphs upon paragraphs in a text or an email. And on the phone too. If someone was calling me and they had like a set question, I will give them the answer, that's it, we hang up. Phone calls should be like 10-15 seconds max if it's a quick question. So keep your emails, texts, and phone calls short. Simplify, simplify, simplify. That's all you need to remember from this video. And to be concise and to simplify actually does take some practice. I will not lie to you. Now, just take a moment, look at your emails that you're writing people. Look at your texts that you're writing people. And they could be personal texts or professional texts or professional emails or whatever. Just look at them and think, oh, I could have took that out, I could have took that out. If it's nothing that they need to know, take it out. I also want you to think back to your last interview. Think about how good or bad you did. Think about a question that maybe you talked too long. If you're starting to get blank stares or people's eyes are like glassing over, then you know you have spoken for too long when someone was interviewing you. Or even if, you might be on a first date or something, you know that you have gone on too long when you start to see it in their face. So just think about those situations, look back and say, you know what could I have shortened? Could I have trimmed this? Trim the fat. Trim the fat when you're talking. Trim the fat when you're writing. Trim the fat. Clearly communicating does take practice. Being concise does take practice. So I want you to be kind to yourself, but also reflect on those situations and say, you know what, I could have done this better. And the next time you find yourself in that situation, then you get better at it. It's a step-by-step process. So we're gonna bring this to your first day on set. I do not want you to overthink and have anxiety about making sure you're communicating clearly on set and making sure you're concise and you are having the proper volume. Yes, you should think about all those things, but don't worry so much to the point where you're just frozen and you can't act or you can't react to certain things. It's one step at a time. A lot of the questions that you're gonna get on set are usually yes/no answers when you start out as an additional PA. Just know that I don't want you to worry so much. Give yourself a little bit of time to reflect on the day and see how it went. Go over certain scenarios in your head and say, oh, I think that went well. Maybe I could have did better. And just remember to be kind to yourself, because I think some people really do beat themselves up a little bit too harshly. Give yourself a fair evaluation, but just don't overthink it. If your communication skills are lacking, the great news is that it is not something you're born with. It's something that you can sharpen. It is a skill that you can develop, you can get better at. So don't worry too much if you're not a great communicator. Just remember that reflection is going to be your best friend when you're trying to get better at communicating. And then each time you have that opportunity to communicate, you get better and better and better. So I have a little bonus tip within this tip about clearly communicating. Clearly communicating has everything to do with listening. Okay, your listening skills. When you focus on listening to the person that is talking to you, texting you, or emailing you, that's like half the battle of clearly communicating. When that person is talking to you, you are not already trying to think of an answer before they even get the question out to you. Being a good listener is, that goes a real long way as far as being a clear communicator. So tell me in the comments, is communication hard for you? In-person communication, maybe emailing and texting is like your strong suit, in-person is not. What is, your communication style? What is your strength? Maybe talk about your communication weakness, because I know sometimes when I'm in person, I get tripped on my words, I get tripped up, I talk too fast and I'm thinking too fast. It's sometimes really, really horrible, especially when I'm stressed out on set. It can get really, really bad. So that was tip number 5, clear communication. Remember, keeping in mind volume, not too loud and not too soft-spoken. Keeping it short, being concise, trimming the fat. And that goes for texts, in person, in email, on your resume, in interviews. This can really be used in all facets of your life. I have more tips coming your way. I have 5 more tips. We have 5 more days of these tips for production assistants and anyone embarking in a film career. But if you're looking to take a step in the set production assistant direction, and you might not be in the New York City area to take my in-person course, I have a online set production assistant training course ready for you to take at your leisure. Take as much time as you need. It has tons of information, photos, exclusive videos, basically everything you're gonna need to be ready on set, ready to go, and not look like a green PA or a very new lost in the sauce PA. And that link is gonna be below for you. If you thought this video was useful, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps me out. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please comment below. I'm happy to answer any of your questions. And that is it for now, and I shall see you next time.